The Senate Transportation Committee will come to order. Thank you. Staff, could you please call the roll?
You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. All right. If we could start with Delegate Rome. I understand she has some pressing time issues here. Delegate Rome, are you?
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Chair.
Are you ready to roll?
Yes, I am. Which of the two bills would you like me to present first?
It is Delegate's choice.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very kindly. We'll first do HB 1828. So, Mr. Chairman, to the members of the committee, HB 1828 authorizes the DMV Commissioner to extend renewal deadlines and certain timeframes for DMV customer transactions during the COVID-19 pandemic and other declared states of emergency, as well as for a period of time up to 90 days after the state of emergency is rescinded or expires. The bill codifies budget language the General Assembly passed during the 2020 special session, so we've already voted on it. Extensions permitted by the budget language have already brought relief to many Virginians during this pandemic. And codifying this language would continue to increase flexibility for and help many Virginians seeking DMV services during these challenging times and ensure that we are prepared to better meet the needs of our constituents in the future during declared states of emergency. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I know we have Commissioner Holcomb from the DMV here as well.
Thank you so much, Delegate Rome. Any questions for Delegate Rome from the committee? Okay. This is one that we did in special session through the budget, and now we're trying to codify it. Commissioner Holcomb, any further comments? Any other information we need?
Commissioner Holcomb's being moved in the Zoom room.
You having speakers, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I was having trouble getting into the room. I can't add anything to what Delegate Rome said. She outlined it perfectly, and we certainly would commend the bill to the committee for passage.
All right, thank you so much. Do we have a motion on this bill?
Move to report.
We have a motion and a second to report. Clerk, would you open the rolls and record your votes?
Ayes 12, noes 2.
Ayes 12, noes 2. The bill reports.
Very good. Thank you,
Delegate
Mr. Chair,
Rome.
and to the committee. All right, up next, I've got HB 2318, and I'm ready when you are, Mr. Chair.
All right, please proceed.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, and to the members of the committee, HB 2318 authorizes localities to adopt ordinances to prohibit test drives in designated residential districts to protect public safety. This is a constituent service request from the City of Manassas Park after test drives result in drivers speeding, running stop signs, and committing other traffic infractions in residential areas. We worked with the Virginia Automobile Dealers Association to ensure dealers can work with localities to address the problem, while also working with VML and the City of Manassas Park. Localities will be required to give dealers in their jurisdiction notice of the adoption of such an ordinance, and dealers will be required to notify test drivers of the ordinance, including the residential district parameters in which the districts are prohibited to test drive. As in the case with other dealer infractions in the code, any violation of the local ordinance will result in a notification to the Motor Vehicles Dealer Board to investigate whether the dealer abided by the code. In this case, being required to notify the test drivers of the ordinance. We have Mayor Rischel from the City of Manassas Park, and Gambardella from VDA, and Mitchell Smiley from VML here to testify in support of the bill as well. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Oh,
Mr. Chairman?
Very good. And who's that? Senator
Spruill.
Senator Spruill.
Yes. A question that, have you been having trouble in a particular area?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would tell the senator that yes, we have had issues in particular areas of the city, while at the same time, understanding that as we worked with VML, that there could potentially be other municipalities and localities that would like to have that similar power, which is why we authorized it to be an opt-in for localities throughout the state, as opposed to just making it, like basically special legislations for just one city. So we figured if we do it statewide, it's a opt-in bill. And it's also not particularly punitive. We don't go, like no one's going to get pulled over for driving there. It's more that if someone commits an infraction within that residential district as they're driving, then we can then check to see if they were told not to go there in the first place. And if they were, okay, and if they weren't, then we can basically just bring that up to the motor vehicle board.
Thank you so much.
Oh, okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee of the patron before we get to witnesses? Okay, Delegate Rome, I assume that this is also for citizens as well as a safety issue. It at times is a nuisance factor.
Mr. Chairman, that is completely correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Could we open the up for I think Mayor Rochelle, and then we had one other person in here in favor.
Ann Gambardella, please unmute and go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Ann Gambardella with the Virginia Auto Dealers Association. We worked very closely with Delegate Rome on this language, and we think it goes a long way to solve the problem that she had in her area, and doesn't do anything that will unfairly penalize our dealers. So we think it's a great measure, and are pleased that she was so willing to help us on this.
Great, thank you so much. And Mayor Rochelle, are you there? Mayor Rochelle? In the room? Does not appear to be, but I think the bill's maybe in good shape. We haven't had many questions. And we operate by a motion. Do we have a motion on the bill?
Move
I have
report,
a question.
move report, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. I had a question.
We have one more person who wishes to speak to the bill, Mitchell Smiley.
Oh, okay, I thought those, we just had two, and Mayor Rochelle wasn't there, but there's another person. Please, bring them into the room.
Mitchell Smiley, please unmute and go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Mitchell Smiley on behalf of VML. We support the bill. We appreciate Delegate Rome carrying it, and we appreciate that it's local option. And I don't want to take up any more of the committee's time getting in front of a passing bill.
The Senate loves local option. So at any rate, thank you. We operate on a motion. Do we have one on this bill?
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to report. And speaking to the motion, I think also Senator Peake has either a comment or a question.
Yeah, I had a
Senator Peake.
question of the patron.
Delegate Rome?
Yeah, I'm here, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, so these are public roads paid for by the taxpayers, and this bill will allow localities to prevent public taxpayers from driving on these public roads. Is that correct?
So, Mr. Chairman, I would tell the senator in this case that in some cases you have, non-state-based maintained roads, basically where you can, basically you'll even see the signs that basically say that, the state maintenance, ends here, right? And so in that case, if you had a particularly private, road that was not being, basically dealt with or taken care of by the state government, that would be a private road. But at the same time, and if a locality were to make that residential distinction on this case, then I would tell the senator that yes, the locality would be able to choose the residential district, regardless of whether or not it's VDOT maintained or whether it's privately maintained, in order for them to restrict those test drives.
Okay. Any follow-up, Senator Peake? Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Senator McPike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank Delegate Rome for carrying the bill for Manassas Park. Manassas Park overlaps our districts. I'd have also carried this bill had there not been bill limits this year, but due to limits, Delegate Rome decided to take this on, which I appreciate. This is an issue for Manassas Park where there are larger commercial roads available for the dealership immediately adjacent that they have the option to do it, and so it really is to prevent the cars from going through the residential streets and sort of, unfortunately, there's been incidents where folks are sort of revving and testing out the engine through residential streets versus where it should be done on a normal two-lane highway, multiple other venues that are available for those customers of the dealership. And I appreciate VADA and VML working with the delegate on this issue and therefore move the report.
Mr. Chairman, and I apologize.
Senator Obenshain.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to still get my head around this. I don't know, I've got some wicked feedback here going, but so I have on a couple of occasions taken a test drive and been given a dealer vehicle with dealer plates and been told, take it home. Keep it for a couple of days and see if you like it. So would I get a ticket driving through my neighborhood?
Mr. Chairman, what I would tell the senator in this case is no, you would not get a ticket for driving. So you would only be able to be pulled over if you had a other traffic infraction in the first place. And in fact, the driver is not penalized on this. And in fact, if you worked for the auto dealer also, we specifically mentioned in the text that you can basically drive your car, drive that car home on dealer tags. That's totally okay. What the bill is basically saying here is that if there is a restricted residential area as designated by local ordinance in this case, and that person happens to commit a secondary traffic infraction or primary traffic infraction of running a stop sign or blowing red light or speeding, whatever it is, that in that case, we would then check to see whether or not they were told not to go in that area. And if they were, okay. If they weren't, then we bring that up to the Motor Vehicles Board. And we have a may clause in there as opposed to a shall to say basically whether or not the Motor Vehicles Board would be able to find the dealer was in violation of the section of code, but it's not required.
So, Mr. Chairman, further question.
Follow up, yes.
So if I'm talking on my cell phone, okay, and driving through my neighborhood, and I get pulled over for talking on my cell phone, if my dealer told me don't drive in residential neighborhoods so that they don't get hauled before the Motor Vehicle Dealers Board, but they say, wink, wink, take it home, I'm still going to get a ticket for driving in my own neighborhood, aren't I?
Mr. Chair?
Well,
let's have the patron answer the question first. I'll get to you, Senator
So
Boyce.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Mr. Chairman, I would tell the senator that you would be getting the ticket because you were on your cell phone, which our new law that went into effect on January 1st now prohibits you from doing while you're driving in the first place. But you would not get an additional ticket because you had dealer tags in this case.
Why
It's
not?
just, well, because we were trying to find that balance of between not being overly punitive so that you're not profiling the people who are doing it per se, and then you would have an equity problem, while at the same time trying to prevent the problem from happening in the first place by informing drivers where they can and can't go, because right now that just doesn't even exist. Right now they can just drive wherever. And so you would still get that ticket for talking on your phone, which you're not supposed to do because that is a traffic infraction. However, having the dealer plates on that is not going to affect the severity of your ticket.
Mr. Chairman, can I just point out that on line 23 and 24, it specifically says nothing herein shall prohibit a buyer from driving to and from his residence, regardless of whether he lives in the residential district.
Thank you, Senator Boysko. Senator, I think that's, do we have, are you good, Senator Robichain? Not really. Okay. All right. I think we have a motion on the bill. Do we have a second? Okay, clerk, could you open the roll?
Ayes 8, noes 6.
Ayes 8, noes 6. House Bill 2318 is reported. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to members of the committee.
If I could, at this point in time, if I could ask Lisa Wallmeyer, we have 5 bills that are, I believe, identical, and I was wondering if we could take those. The Senator, Ms. Wallmeyer has a list there that'd be easier to operate from. So, could we go through those, Ms. Wallmeyer?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, the first bill on that list is House Bill 1851, which has to do with registration of unmanned aircraft. It's Delegate Delaney's bill.
Okay, I believe that's identical to Senator Favola's, was that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you so much. Do we have a patron?
Move the report. Second.
Okay, we got move to report and a second. No need for a patron. Let's move it along. All those in favor? Say aye. Opposed, no.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. The bill reports. Ms. Wallmeyer, number 2.
The next bill is House Bill 1893, which is Delegate Hurst's bill. I do not, oh, there he is. I didn't see him at first on the call. This bill is nearly identical to Senator Edwards' bill that we passed. There are 2 differences. The first is that a typo was corrected in Senator Edwards' bill, so we would need an amendment for that. Ironically, I misspelled education in the original draft, so take that as you will. And then the second issue is that the House had added an additional amendment to Delegate Hurst's bill that we did not have, which I'm happy to explain or let the patron explain.
Okay. is the patron available to explain?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate council's a brief description. So on the House side, we wanted there to be explicit information that we don't have, that the proposed authority would not have the right of condemnation. I believe it's somewhat of a distinction without a difference because it wouldn't have it anyway. Council may be able to clarify. It didn't seem as if it was wholly necessary on the House side, but was added just in case. More than happy to have you lay the Senate version of this bill from Senator Edwards on top of mine and move this thing out of here. But I'm also not really wedded to the amendment in the first place because, again, I don't think the authority would have prescribed a condemnation ability with or without the amendment.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Obenshain.
I would ask the delegate, do you feel that does, from what I heard you say, you don't feel that does you any harm, though, does it?
No, sir.
So, Senator Obenshain, are you saying we should just adopt the amendments?
Yes, sir.
Is that a motion?
Yes, sir.
We have a motion to adopt the amendments. Do we have a second? Have a second? All those in favor of adopting those two amendments, please say aye. Opposed, nay. Aye. Opposed? All right.
Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, I move to report as amended.
We have a motion and a second to report the bill as amended. Clerk, would you open the rolls and record your votes? Could we amend that to report and refer to finance?
Indeed, yes.
Chairman.
A second. All in favor?
Chairman.
Senator Sproul.
Have finance requested to come up to finance?
Yes.
You send stuff off finance for nothing. They don't do nothing with it anyway.
Well, that is sometimes the case, but sometimes we do, and that is the nature of that committee, Senator Sproul. So, at any rate, we have a motion and a second to report and refer to finance. Could you please record your vote?
Mr. Chairman,
Excuse me. Cancel the roll. Ms. Walmart.
I'm so sorry. I just wanted to clarify, we're adopting the technical amendment with the misspelling, and then we are leaving the rest of the bill as it came over from the House with the
I
condemnation.
believe that is correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I did the right thing. Thank you.
Chairman,
Yes, hold on. Who's that?
right here.
Oh, Senator DeSteph.
It's my understanding that where we're conforming and reporting this, we are conforming the House bill to the Senate version, then reporting to finance.
No.
I believe Senator Obenshain's motion was to just accept the amendments and refer to, and then the motion was to report and refer to finance with just the amendments, not conforming. Okay?
I think it's just one amendment.
It's just one amendment. Excuse me. All right. So we have a motion and a second to report and refer to finance as amended.
What about the spelling? Thank you.
Okay. And all right. Record your votes.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. The bill reports. Thank you so much, Delegate Hurst.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Lisa, next on our list?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Our next identical bill is House Bill 1960, which is Delegate Bell's bill about vehicle registration. This is identical to a bill that that was adopted by the Senate.
Okay. No need to make any kind of amendments or changes. We're good to go.
No, sir. They're currently.
Okay. We have a motion to report and a second. Any questions?
Mr. Chair,
yes.
Could you tell me whose bill, or could staff tell us which bill that was? I didn't realize there was a Senate bill. She can tell me later. I'm sorry.
It was
Ms. Walmart.
Senator Barker.
Excellent.
It was Senator Barker's bill. I don't remember the bill number.
I'll get it. I'll get it. Thank you.
It was a Barker bill.
1470.
Okay. Clerk, open the roll. Record your votes.
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. The bill reports. Next on the list.
Mr. Chairman, the next identical bill is House Bill 2071 about transportation funding and resiliency. It is identical to Senator Lewis's bill, but I believe there's a technical amendment suggested by VDOT or by the Secretary's office that's being recommended for both the House and the Senate bill.
Good. This is House Bill 2071. And
yes, sir.
Could you report what the technical amendment is? I know it is good with both patrons. But
yes,
could
sir.
you report that?
Yes, sir. On line 20 on the engrossed bill, after the word "be," or the project sponsor has committed that the design will be. So it's just very technical in making sure that's encompassing designs that currently include or will include resiliency.
Okay. Any questions for on that, for that technical amendment?
Sir, Mr. Chair.
Senator Abbott.
I move the amendment.
Okay. We move the amendments. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Bill is before us as amended. Do we have a motion? Excuse me.
First.
Senator Newman.
Mr. Chairman, just making sure, we looked at, I think it was Lewis's bill that was like this, and we made sure that Smart Scale was out, and I just want to make sure that is identical except for the technical amendment to Lewis.
That is my understanding, and I've spoken with Senator Lewis, and he's fine with this amendment. Senator Newman.
Mr. Chairman, so you're representing that it is the same, that we've taken Smart Scale out. Is that correct, sir?
Let me ask my expert here. Ms. Wallmeyer, is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this is identical to Senator Lewis's version with the addition of this one amendment that he also is planning to ask to be made to his.
Okay, thank you, Senator Newman. So the bill is before us as amended. Could you open the rolls and record your vote?
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. The bill reports. Thank you. I think we have one more.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, the final identical bill is House Bill 2262. This is the bicycle bill that's identical to a bill that was patroned by Senator Morrissey. It was reported from committee and then failed to pass the Senate.
Okay. Because this bill failed to pass on the Senate floor, and I did receive some information the other day in a meeting that I held with different members of the administration, as is customary in this committee. And I believe that information, Ms. Wallmeyer, did that come from the state police or VDOT, that information about Delaware?
Yes, sir. State police.
The state police. My understanding is that Delaware had a similar bill, and the number of reported deaths, not accidents, but deaths, dramatically increased. Is Ron Maxey on the call and could fill us in on that?
Mr. Chair, he's moving into the Zoom room now.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I believe you were referring to the Delaware crash study as far as the reported injuries as well as the fatality rates, the increases in the fatality rates, correct?
That's correct.
Yes, sir. The department has no position on the bill, but according to the Delaware study, it does show that there was a decrease in reported injury crashes of 11%, a decrease in reported injuries at controlled stop signs of 23%, and a fatality rate involving bicycles, which increased after the passage of the bill to 86%, or by 86%, I'm sorry.
Okay. Do you have a raw number on that? I mean, how many deaths it went up?
According to the study, it shows for the fatalities, they had 7 prior to during the reporting period, and following the passage during the reporting period, there were 13 fatalities.
Okay, thank you so much.
Which basically equates to an 86% increase in fatality rates.
Yeah, Delegate Hurst, if you're there and would like to come on here, I just wanted you to have that information before you presented on the bill, because this did fail on the Senate floor, although it got out of this committee. Is there, in light of that information, is there anything? I'd love you to present your bill and comment on that statistic from the state police, if you're there.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I would point. So first off, that information comes from bikedelaware.org, getting aggregate police information from the Delaware State Police. I talked to the Delaware State Police this afternoon, and they said that it wasn't their study that they put out or their information collecting. There's a fourth data point, though, that was neglected from what Mr. Maxey said, which is that there were 0 fatal crashes involving bicycles at stop signs for that period after the bill went into effect. So you have to answer a couple things. One is 7 deaths to 13 deaths statistically significant enough to be as alarming as an otherwise 86% increase might indicate. The other thing is to remember that reported crashes overall for bicycles and crashes at stop sign intersections went down a significant amount, but that no fatalities occurred in those stop sign intersections. So I don't think it's fair to say, you cannot draw a correlation to say that because Delaware implemented this safety stop law, that it increased fatalities. I talked to Captain Whitmarsh from the Delaware State Police, and he said that it would be impossible to make a determination that the safety stop led to more fatalities, because when you look at the data, there were no fatalities for bicycles at stop sign controlled intersections. Let me back up and say that House Bill 2262 does include 2 other provisions that seem to have bipartisan support and are less controversial, but I do want to mention them. The first is that the bill would allow for bicycle riders to ride 2 abreast. And this is really important when we are thinking about how many you might have in a bike train. Wanting to shorten the length that any car would have to pass the entire number of bicycles. If you allow them to ride 2 abreast, you shorten the length of the entire train, allowing you to pass them faster and therefore safely. The other reason why it's important is because it allows for parents to be on the outside and let their children be on the inside, and gives them an extra layer of safety and protection. The other part of the bill would be that if you do not have 3 feet to safely pass a bike in your current lane, that you would need to change lanes, and change lanes just like you do for any other circumstance, doing it safely and when you have appropriate line of sight. So those are 2 provisions that were widely accepted in the House, and I think that there might be some agreement for adoption in the Senate, but wanted to preface them there. The safety stop is a little more nuanced, and it is also counterintuitive, but I think it's important to note, Mr. Chairman, that the safety stop helps to codify what is already going on, which is that cyclists, and for that matter, most motor vehicles, do not stop at 4-way intersections if there are not coming to a complete stop, if there's no other traffic present. This would say that bicycles still have to make a full stop if there is any other car in the adjacent direction that is coming to the stop sign. But that if the traffic is clear, they can use their own best judgment and navigate those intersections and treat those stop signs as yield, which would allow them to not stop their forward momentum, which can help increase crashes if we don't do that, and also helps them out by not having them have to come to a full stop, which can actually be a huge precursor to bicycling injuries. Moreover, as Delaware has proven, as well as Idaho, the first state that's adopted it, and Colorado and Washington, the states that have implemented the safety stop have been able to reduce overall crashes and injuries that happen at stop sign intersections because it allows us to codify best practice. It clears up confusion for the cyclist about what they should or should not do. And also, a maneuverable bike that's in motion is, 1, easier to see and would prevent blind spot accidents by cars, and is also easier for that cyclist to maneuver if they have to maneuver immediately to get out of the way. It's better for them to already have some initial momentum than to ask them to come from a full stop to then try and cycle out of the way of an impending crash. So I want to say this too, and I said this in the House. Mr. Chairman, I am not a cyclist. You will never find me on a bike. I do not look good in bike shorts. I get just as aggravated as the next person sitting behind a cyclist waiting for it to be safe to pass. But I think it's important for all of us to know that we want to do what's safe. We want to do what's right. And as a driver, I would be more than happy to comply with my part of the provisions of this bill, which would mean that when it is safe for me to do so, that I will go into the next lane and pass the bikes accordingly. There is no place that I'm going so fast and so urgently that I
Okay.
can't wait behind a bike and do it safely.
Okay, thank you very much. We heard testimony on this bill during the time it came through the Senate, so I would ask of the committee: does anyone have any questions, comments, or a motion to make?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Senator Servell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I remember this bill when it came through. I wish I had spoken up when it was on the floor, but I thought it was doing okay, but I guess it wasn't. But I've been an avid cyclist now for about a quarter of a decade. Actually rode my bike through Idaho a long time ago.
Say what? Did you stay at a Holiday Inn Express when you were? No, go ahead, Senator Servell.
Quarter of a decade ago. But I rode my bike through Idaho in 1996. All right. Anyway, okay, yeah, quarter century, sorry. Good point. In any event, appreciate oblige your comic relief. I'll try to make give you some more opportunities here. But this Idaho stop concept, the yield stop, whatever, now it's been adopted, I think, about 10 different states. In Idaho, I think they had a 14% reduction in fatalities the year after they adopted it. They're 30% safer there overall. They've adopted this in some liberal bastions, including places like Utah, Missouri, Kansas. This is not. This policy has been adopted all across the United States, and and from my perspective, it seems to work. The other two aspects of the bill, I think, are fairly non-controversial. Being a cyclist, it's having to put your foot down and start over again. It's harder to get across the street. It slows you down, and it does make you more vulnerable to being hit. And I believe the way the bill is worded, if somebody's stupid enough to charge out in the street when a car's coming, it isn't going to end up well for the cyclist. Whoever's in the car isn't going to get hurt that bad because the physics don't really favor the cyclist in those scenarios. So, I don't see a big problem with the policy. And, I have a motion at the appropriate time, but I think you probably want to take some more testimony.
Mr. Chair.
Shane.
And I listened carefully to Senator Servell, and I see a marked distinction between the states in which they've seen a decrease in the number of fatalities and Virginia. Utah and Missouri, they have flat and straight stretches. You put two cyclists next to each other on McCoy Road in Montgomery County with those hills and twists and turns, and a farm use pickup truck coming around the bend is going to take them out.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Servell.
I also rode my bike through Missouri on that trip. And when I hit Missouri, that's when I actually found the hills. And one of the things you learn riding a bike is that the roads out west were built before they had horses and wagons. And they're all built to a 10% grade. So when you're trying to climb over a mountain, not that big of a deal. You get to Missouri, it's a different story. And you hit the Ozarks, the Ozarks are mountains, and those hills those roads are engineered at 15% plus grade in some spots. And it was a painful experience. So there's plenty of bumps in Missouri, and there's plenty of bumps in Arkansas, which also has adopted this. So there's plenty of bumps in Utah, in fact. Utah has some pretty big mountains. So does Wisconsin. So, my point is this. I don't think there's a lot of this to me doesn't seem to be a partisan issue or even seem to be a regional issue. it just seems to be an issue where people in some states have looked at this policy and thought, and at least with regard to the yield stop piece, and decided it's good policy, and that it actually reduces collisions. So I still think we need to proceed with this, and maybe we can have a better discussion on the floor.
Thank you, Senator Surville. Any other comments or questions? Is there anyone out there who would like to testify for just a few seconds on anything different than what you've heard so far?
Mr. Chair, I think we have 3 speakers who wish to testify.
Okay, just give you 15 seconds each just to let us know who you are and whether you're in support of the bill and a real quick why.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. This is Laura Bateman on behalf of the City of Richmond, and I just wanted to let you all know that the City of Richmond is supportive of the bill, and it was, in fact, a part of their legislative program for this session, and we hope you'll support it.
Thank you, Ms. Bateman. Next.
Brantley Kendall, please unmute and go ahead.
I'm Brantley Tyndall, President of Virginia Bicycling Federation, and we hope you support the bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And our last.
Wyatt Gordon, please go ahead.
Hey all, this is Wyatt Gordon from Virginia Conservation Network, and I just want to say on behalf of the entire environmental community, we support this bill. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone here to say anything with regards to being against the bill?
There are no hands raised at this time, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. We operate on a motion. We have a motion on the bill. We have a motion to report and a second. Would you please record your votes? Try again.
Ayes 9, noes 5.
Ayes 9, noes 5. The bill reports, but know that it may face a tough journey on the floor. So thank you so much, Delegate Hurst.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That was 2262. Okay. All right. I guess we can get back now to the regular order. House Bill 1796. Delegate Walker, are you there?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Please tell us about your bill.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1796 is a bill that removes the fee for the issuance of special license plates for retired members of the Virginia National Guard. Currently, such special license plates cost the same as prescribed cost of a typical Virginia license plates. This has a very limited impact, coming out with a little more than $10,000 in the fiscal year 2021 special fund from the DMV special fund. Unfortunately, we don't do enough for these members of the armed forces. And this legislation, I believe, is just one small way in which we can honor retirees of the Virginia National Guard. It is certainly worth exploring, and I hope it will be the will of this committee to advance this legislation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Delegate Walker. Any questions from the committee before we go into the audience? Okay. Could we have anyone who is in favor of the bill?
At this time, there are no hands raised.
Okay. Anyone opposed to the bill?
Once more, no hands are raised.
Okay. And Commissioner Holcomb, could you comment quickly on this bill?
Mr. Chairman, we have no position on the bill. Our role on these special plates is to just tell you how much it's going to cost, and also tell you whether it's consistent or inconsistent with other previous actions on part of the General Assembly. The patron is correct. There are 475 of these plates out there now, so the loss in revenue to the DMV would be about $14,606 annually. But just one thing that we do want the committee to be aware of is that previously registration fees have not been waived, but for four different plates, and that is the Medal of Honor plate, Purple Heart, disabled veterans and former POWs. So those are the only times that the General Assembly has waived registration fees. The other issue that I just want to put before the committee is that out of those 475 plates, there are 112 of them that are personalized, and our reading of the bill would also waive that $10 personalized fee. So if you've got a unique combination of letters or numbers, we have not found an occasion where the General Assembly has waived the personalization fee, so that would be a new precedent. But again, we have no position on the bill, and whatever the committee and the General Assembly wants to do, we will implement it.
Questions of Commissioner Holcomb from the committee? Thank you, Commissioner Holcomb.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I was just taking some notes. Could the commissioner read through again the exemptions? I heard POW, I heard some other
yes, sir.
Medal of Valor and some other
yes,
pretty significant distinctions.
Mr. Chairman, Delegate Delegate McPike, yes, the 4 plates are the Medal of Honor, Purple Heart, certain disabled veterans, and former prisoners of war. Those are the 4 plates that currently the General Assembly has waived all registration fees.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from the committee?
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These kind of bills are darn near impossible to vote against, but this is going to be one heck of a Christmas tree, because next year we're going to have retired sailors, and then we'll have retired Marines, and then we're going to have retired soldiers, and then we'll have retired coasties. I mean, this is going to be a big snowball going down a fast hill.
Do you have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I have another question.
Senator Favola.
Have we ever established a committee or some process for determining which groups could have the registration fee waived? Or is it just strictly by legislation, and as Senator Cosgrove suggested, worthy groups, and we don't really have criteria for deciding?
No, we don't, and I
mean, it just expands the options for.
Yeah, and I think it would be very
difficult.
difficult, Senator Favola, to anticipate what the many different requests may come, to be added on to something like this. Senator DeStaff.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that there's a financial impact on this, and I'd like to report and refer to finance.
Is that your motion, Senator DeStaff?
Yes, sir.
All right. We have a motion is to report and refer to finance. Do we have a second? Okay, the motion is to report and refer to finance. Substitute motion to PBI. Do we have a second?
Reluctantly.
Excuse me? So we have a motion before us to PBI with a second. Clerk, would you open the rolls, record your votes.
This is for PBI.
PBI. Has everyone recorded their vote? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 4, no 10.
Ayes 4, noes 10. The bill is still before us. Can I have a motion to...
There's a standing motion already, Mr. Chair.
All right, we have a motion and a second to report.
And refer to finance.
And refer to finance. Could you open the roll?
Mr. Chairman, speaking to the motion briefly.
Senator McPike.
I just have to emphasize that the current class of exemptions are a distinguished class, highly distinguished class that the General Assembly has previously agreed to. Those POWs, Medal of Honor winners. I think this is a distinguished group in class, and I appreciate what the patron is trying to do. However, I would not want to dilute the sacrifice that we have designated to these individuals and therefore urge the committee to vote against the bill. Thank you.
And I would remind Senator McPike of the unique role that the Senate Finance Committee operates under to protect the assets of the Commonwealth. So the motion is to report and refer to Finance. Please record your vote.
Ayes 10, noes 3.
Ayes 10, noes 3. The bill is reported and referred to Finance. With one abstention, excuse me. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Next,
Mr. Chairman.
bill up before us is House Bill 1801, Delegate Edmonds. Delegate Edmonds, are you there?
I am, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Good to see you. How you been?
You? Very good.
All right. Could you tell us about HB 1801?
Yes, sir. House Bill 1801 simply raises the minimum fine for littering from $250 to $500. And if I may speak briefly to the bill.
Please.
5 states have done so. Alabama, Louisiana, Nebraska, Oklahoma, and South Dakota have raised their minimum to 500, with seeing the results of litter being diminished greatly. Here's what we know. The current $250 fine we currently have in place is doing nothing to stop the problem. In fact, I would contend it's probably the worst I've ever seen. I've been adopting highways for 25 years, probably, and it's definitely the worst I've seen, especially in rural Virginia. 2, VDOT studies show that 75% of roadside litter is deliberately thrown from vehicles, which tells me people know better, because I know in blind curves, in areas where there's not a home, that's where they throw the trash out. Third thing, Mr. Chairman, this bill has bipartisan support and is supported by Farm Bureau, the Sierra Club, Keep Virginia Beautiful Council, and numerous other environmental groups. Fourthly, littered roadsides are an indicator, in my opinion, of the lack of pride shown by a community, and I believe it hampers economic development, as well as unnecessarily harms the environment. Mr. Chairman, I can't think of a more disrespectful thing to do than for someone to say that my trash is better on your property than in my car. So that's what the bill does.
All right. Thank you, Delegate Edmonds. Any questions for Delegate Edmonds before we go to those in favor and those against in the virtual world?
Mr. Chairman.
Who is that?
Survell.
Senator Survell.
I was wondering if the patron thought we could have a mandatory minimum fine for disposing of shopping carts.
I thought about you when I did this bill, actually.
It is, that's, in many people's opinions, Senator Survell, shopping carts and creeks are works of art. So, at any rate, any other questions for Delegate Edmonds? Is there anyone on the in the room to speak in favor of the bill?
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Evans, is that you?
Yeah, I think I followed this, but just to ask the delegate, is the amount of time for community service left the same the way his bill is presented?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, yes, sir, Senator Evans. It's originally the bill was drafted to increase that from 10 to 40, but the bill was amended to now only include the minimum of $500 fine. So the
Okay.
language for the
and it's a minimum for the service, so they can order more. Okay.
it's
Thank
10
you.
hours, as it currently is in code.
Other questions of Delegate Edmonds? Is there anyone in the room that wishes to address this bill?
Yes, I believe Ben Rowe. Please unmute and go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ben Rowe speaking on behalf of Virginia Farm Bureau in support of the bill.
Thank you, Ben.
For the agriculture industry, litter is more than just a nuisance or an eyesore. It's a hazard. All too often, we hear about litter that has been illegally dumped on farmland or thrown from a moving vehicle, which causes a hazard for both livestock and row crop producers. For livestock, livestock can get curious, particularly horses, and eat litter, which can cause very serious intestinal issues and even death in some instances. For row crop producers, litter is a major risk as well, particularly when talking about plastic. Plastic bags can blow across fields where they're very hard, if not impossible to see once they get down into the plants. And once these are mechanically harvested, it can taint an entire load of grain or cotton or wheat, or it can cause serious damage to machinery. For example, a single punctured tire from glass bottles can cost as much as $500 to $1,000 each. And looking at the value of lost cotton, a single bale that's contaminated with plastic will be rejected at the gin. That can cost a farmer $500. Dump trailers that are used for hauling grain are typically 1,000 bushels. So if one of those is tainted with trash and plastic, it will be rejected at the elevator. For soybeans, that would be about a $13,000 loss. For corn, $5,500. And for wheat, about $6,500 at today's prices. So we just want to express for agricultural operations, this is a major issue, and it's more than just an eyesore or a nuisance. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Anyone else in the room that wants to speak in favor?
At this time, no other hands are raised.
Anyone on there who wants to speak in opposition?
I think we have someone who just raised their hand to speak in support of the bill.
All right. Please join us.
Michael Baum, whenever you're ready, please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Thanks for the opportunity. Executive Director of Keep Virginia Beautiful, and would love this bill to pass. I think it will make a tremendous impact in the state of Virginia. Unfortunately, litter is a huge detriment right now financially. Tourism, no one wants to work and live in a place that's trashed, unfortunately. And we help run the VDOT Adopt a Highway program. Thank you, Delegate Edmonds, for your years of adopting as being a permit holder. And so once again, this is just a raising the fine will help raise awareness, and from our end, we'll help educate. We're the oldest affiliate to Keep America Beautiful, founded in 1953 as the Anti-Litter Bug Council. But so we have years of working with litter. Unfortunately, it's a problem that's not going away, and would appreciate this bill because I really think it'll make a long-term difference in the Commonwealth.
All right. Thank you very much. Anyone else?
There are no other hands raised at this time.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions from the committee?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Senator
for the
Boysko.
patron. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I'm reading the bill, it says on line 13 and 14, unlawful for anyone to dump, including a companion animal. Does that mean that you're talking about a live companion animal, like someone who is trapped, neutering, and releasing a companion animal?
Wow.
Mr. Chair.
Senator, who would like to take a stab at answering that question? Delegate Edmonds?
Mr. Chairman, I think that means if your companion animal has perished and you dump it on the side of the road, that is also littering. I can't imagine doing that, but
okay. All right. Very good. Thank you, Delegate Senator Boysko.
Mr. Chairman, if you're ready for a motion on this.
I am ready for a motion, Senator Favola.
All right. I don't believe that this has to go to finance, so my motion will be to report the bill.
We have a motion and a second to report the bill. Clerk, would you open the rolls?
Mr. Chair. I'm sorry,
Excuse
Mr.
me.
Chair.
Senator McPike. Could you scratch the roll, please?
Thank you. The question to the delegate, it's my understanding that you had initially proposed 40 hours of community service, and it was scratched back to 10. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, the original bill language did allow up to 40, but we struck that bill and that part of the bill in committee, so it's at current language of 10 hours.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Senator McPike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, frankly, my preference is, frankly, leaving the 250 in place and increasing the amount of community hours to 40. You want to get someone who won't do it again, have them out there picking up trash, and not just 10 hours, but lots of it. And frankly, it improves the community more by doing it versus smacking on fines that someone might not have, but they got time, and they got time to pick up trash. I mean, I like the delegates' efforts on it. I'd prefer to keep it at $250 and increase the hours to 40 hours.
Mr. Chairman?
The original language is 10.
Mr. Chairman?
Just a minute, Delegate Edmonds, the original community service hours in the code were what?
Currently, it's 10 hours.
Currently, it's 10 hours, and you kept that in. You tried to increase it to 40.
Correct. And the House committee deemed that was, I guess, a mandatory minimum that they did not want to.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Obenshain.
I'm just getting increasingly confused. You know, we've just spent a lot of time eliminating mandatory minimums. A lot of these people who are going to be charged under this are going to be poor people, and we're going to take them out of work for an extra 30 hours. So, you know, if that's the desire of the committee, that's fine, but I confess that I'm confused. Apparently, some crimes we need to increase mandatory minimum for, and others we need to eliminate it. So,
I'm understand, Senator Obenshain.
Okay.
Is there Senator McPike, are you proposing an amendment?
I'm proposing an amendment, Mr. Chairman, to set the fine back to $250, but increase the hours to 40 hours.
Okay. We have a motion. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, inquiry?
Senator Cosgrove?
Yeah. Governor going to veto this because it has mandatory minimum in it? Well, I know it's not.
It is.
I know.
Yeah, I do not know. I mean, personally, I like the bill the way it is, but at any rate, any other comments or questions from the committee? That is, Senator McPike, you have a motion to support the your amendment, and do we have a second? Motion and a second to keep the fine at $250, but increase the community service to $40. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Opposed, nay. No. Uncertain, could we put it on the board?
Ayes 6, noes 8.
Ayes 6, noes 8. The motion is defeated. We have a motion on the floor for a passage of to report the bill from Senator Favola. We have a second.
Second.
With the clerk would open the roll, record your votes.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Ayes 13, noes 1. The bill reports. Thank you so much, Senator Delegate Edmonds.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Okay. All right, next, I believe, is Delegate Krizak, House Bill 1813.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon. HB 13 is an agency bill requested by the Department of Transportation. It would amend the code to increase the cost limits of projects for which the Commissioner of Highways may build or maintain highways by state or local government employees. Currently, only construction and maintenance projects with an estimated cost of $600,000 or less are eligible to be performed by state or local government employees. This would increase that cap to $700,000. It's essentially a technical fix. This cap was last increased in 2008. And if you were to just use inflation numbers, it would take you closer to 800,000. But we thought 700 would be a good compromise place to go at this point in time. It has in 1985 it was 250, 86 it went up to 300,000, and like I said in 2008 it went up to 600,000. So that that flexibility to retain certain projects before performance by the local government and state government employees is particularly useful where the competition may be a little less robust, or where there's a bridge that just got destroyed and you've got to do it quickly, or those situations where design and the administration of bids and things like that those exceed the cost of the project.
All right, thank you very much. Sounds like good fiscal maintenance of the Commonwealth's need to get projects done quickly. And any questions from the committee? Is there anyone on the line to support?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Joanne Maxwell, if you want to unmute. And go ahead.
I'm sorry?
Joanne Maxwell.
Okay, Joanne Maxwell from VDOT. Come on in. Come on, Ms. Maxwell.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Delegate Krizak was exactly right. This is an agency bill, and it's primarily a bill to just keep up with inflation and to allow state forces and local government forces to administer projects, deliver projects when the economics really warrant a quicker project and or avoiding certain procedures that would be involved in administering those otherwise. So this again is just a measure to keep up with inflation, and it gives us the opportunity to save money on certain projects so that those monies can actually be freed up for other projects.
All right, thank you so much. Anyone else in speaking in support?
I believe Jeremy Bennett.
I'm sorry, who?
Jeremy Bennett.
Okay.
Please unmute and go ahead.
Yes.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Jeremy Bennett, representing the Virginia Association of Counties. Support this legislation for the reasons articulated by Ms. Maxwell. We believe it had benefits statewide for locally administered projects, where VDOT has entered into agreements with localities. And for those reasons, we support updating this information and the amount that is permissible. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you so much. Anyone else?
At this time, there are no other hands raised.
Are there anyone in opposition?
At this time, there are no other hands raised.
Okay, thank you so much. The bill is before us.
Mr. Chairman,
We have a motion?
I move that we report the bill.
We have a motion to report. We have a second. Could you open the roll? Please record your vote.
Ayes 13, noes 1.
Ayes 13, noes 1. The bill reports. Thank you, Delegate Krizak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Our next bill, Delegate Rome, has already presented hers. We have Delegate Robinson. Are you there?
Yes, sir, I am. Thank you.
HB 1846. Good to see you. What do you
Nice
got
to
for
see
us?
you too. Well, I brought this bill to you all last year, and it wasn't ready for prime time at that point in time. The bill, as it passed the House, was to allow provisional drivers to use their phones for navigational purposes. And on its way over to the Senate, what I found out was that Senator Stewart had a similar bill that passed the Senate for drivers with learner's permits to be able to use their phones for navigation. Well, through discussion, what came out of it was that the bill really doesn't need to be there because it's covered under the hands-free bill that was passed, the comprehensive hands-free bill that was passed last year. So what my bill has really turned into is there's an amendment, I think, and I don't know, do you guys pass amendments like we do in the House? I don't
Ms.
know how
Wallmeyer, could you report the amendment, please?
Mr. Chairman, this is actually a substitute, and it has been posted to LIS.
Okay. And could you summarize it, please?
Yes, sir. So the bill as introduced would have attempted to go in and add additional language to the provision affecting provisional drivers and when they can and can't use hands-free. The substitute takes a similar approach to Senator Stewart's bill about use of hands-free devices as it left the Senate, in that it just strikes the language in the provisional drivers section so that those provisional drivers will fall clearly under the new language that the General Assembly adopted last year to prohibit use of using personal communication devices while driving.
Right. Is that
Mr. Chairman, the substitute's not online. But I'm
All right.
Apparently the substitute is not online. Is that?
Sometimes it takes a minute. I'm sorry. It's floating in the ether somewhere.
Mr. Chairman, while we're waiting on it,
Delegate Robinson, go ahead.
while you're waiting for it to show up. So I call it a kind of a clean up the code bill because it actually just removes two sections out of removes two areas out of those two code sections. that's C1 in both of the code sections, and any of the references to that C1 section are now, will be removed from those two sections of the code.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, the substitute's now online.
The substitute's now online. Would everyone like to pull that up and review it for just a moment?
Move the substitute, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion to move the substitute. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Substitute's before us.
Mr. Chairman, move to report.
Second.
Mr. Chairman?
We have a motion to, and a second to report. Senator Eben.
Yeah, so now are we in a posture where if we adopt this, it'll be identical to Senator Stewart's, or it'll be similar?
Mr. Chairman, it will be similar to Senator Stewart's. It does not conflict. Senator Stewart's bill right now just deals with people with learner's permit, although he'll be offering a substitute to address learner's permits and provisional drivers when the bill is in the House committee next week. Delegate Robinson's bill deals solely with the provisional drivers, as that was what her concern was with in her introduced bill.
So Senator Stewart's bill is a little more expansive.
Yes, but they'll layer on top of each other. There's no conflict.
Oh, okay. So we can pass both bills without any concern.
Yes, sir.
Ultimately. All right. Has everyone had a chance to review the amendment that we've already adopted, or the substitute that we've already adopted? Any comments on that? Any further questions of the patron or staff?
Mr. Chair.
Senator McClellan. Senator McClellan?
I'm sorry, I'm not as fast a reader. So could either the patron or Lisa explain from how, with this bill passes, what would be the difference between what restrictions apply to a minor versus an adult for hands-free? Will it be the same or different?
Mr. Chairman, I can explain that. If this bill passes, this will, the intent is to clarify. Right now, we have two different standards for provisional drivers versus just regular adult permit drivers. So if this bill passes, and if Senator Stewart's bill passes as well, then all drivers would be subject to the same prohibition against using hands-free, or against using devices that aren't hands-free while they're driving.
So it just approaches it from two different directions and gets to the same place.
Well, no, that's not, Mr. Chair.
Is that not correct?
I don't
Senator
think that's
McClellan.
I don't think that's what she said, so before I get confused. So if this bill and Senator Stewart's bill passes, then whether you are an adult with a regular license, an adult or a minor with a provisional license, or a minor, the same rules would apply for cell phone or personal handheld devices. Is that right, Lisa?
Mr. Chairman, that's correct.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Do we have a motion on the bill? We have a motion and a second to report the bill.
Mr. Chair, we do have someone from the public who'd like to speak.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Patrick Cushing, please unmute and go ahead.
Patrick?
Yeah,
welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Patrick Cushing on behalf of AAA, and I just wanted to say very quickly that we brought this issue to the attention of Delegate Robinson and Senator Stewart, and in all likelihood, this was probably a cleanup that should have happened when the bill passed last year and was something that we were planning on doing in the following session in 2022. So we support this and would support bringing the code in line for the handheld device restrictions for all drivers to be the same. So thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Anyone else wish to?
There are no other hands raised at this time.
No other hands raised. I believe we have a first and a second to report the bill. Would you open the rolls, please? Record your votes.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. The bill reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
Thank you, Delegate Robinson. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Now, let's see. We've dealt with That we have Delegate Reed. Are you with us?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, indeed. And can you tell us about welcome, and can you tell us about HB 1850?
Yes, fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe before we get started, I believe that the Department of Transportation has a clarifying amendment that they have presented.
Very good. Ms. Maxwell, are you there to present the amendment?
Mr. Chairman, I can read the amendment.
Okay, very good.
On line 21, after limits, strike the remainder of the line, and on line 24, after pounds, insert comma, provided that such weight is on the power unit.
Is on the what?
Chairman, is on the power unit.
On the power unit.
Battery. And Mr. Chairman, all this does is rearrange some language to make sure that the right things are being, that the right phrases are in the right place for what they're modifying.
Any questions regarding the amendments? We have a motion and a second to approve the amendments. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The amendments, the bill as amended is before us. Move report. We have a motion and a second to report the bill. All in favor, record your votes.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, do we have?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry,
Senator Servo.
did we get a bill explanation or public comment? I'm just...
Excuse me, I don't believe there was anybody else on public comment, was there?
Mr. Chair, we have 3 speakers, including
three speakers. I'm sorry.
Joanne Maxwell.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I can explain the bill if you would like.
Yeah, please go ahead, David.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, House Bill 1850 extends the maximum weight of semi-trucks and trailers from 80,000 pounds to 82,000 pounds. And now with the amendment, the additional 2,000 pounds is specifically being addressed as to an increase in the power unit necessary to be able to accommodate the extra weight when the vehicle is powered by an electric battery. The bill then also clarifies that the extension of this maximum weight limits for these vehicles applies on both Virginia's interstate and non-interstate highways and brings Virginia code into conformity with the federal law, which was signed in February of 2019. I would also like to highlight that we believe that this bill will help make it possible for Volvo electric trucks that are being manufactured in Dublin, Virginia, to be able to be driven on Virginia's roadways. So that's the explanation for the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. We have anyone in favor of the bill in the virtual room?
Chris Nolan, please go ahead.
Yep, Mr. Chairman, Chris Nolan on behalf of Volvo Trucks, and very much support the bill. Volvo announced in December its first all-electric heavy-duty truck to be manufactured in Virginia, and very much appreciate this bill. So thank you.
Very exciting. Someone else?
Dale Bennett, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is Dale Bennett with the Virginia Trucking Association. We too support this bill as our industry continues to explore alternative power sources to reduce our carbon footprint. We think this bill removes a potential impediment, which involves the weight of having the batteries and everything needed so that folks can test these and figure out their viability for use in the industry as we move forward. Thank you very much.
We have one more.
Joanne Maxwell.
Ms. Maxwell.
Mr. Chair, Joanne Maxwell from VDOT. While we have no official position on the legislation, Delegate Reed's explanation for the bill is exactly spot on, and we appreciate the opportunity to have offered the technical amendment.
Thank you so much. Anyone opposed to the bill in the room?
At this time, there are no other hands.
Okay. We do have a motion and a second to report the bill. Any further discussion or questions? Would you open the roll, please? Record your votes.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. The bill reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee members.
Thank you, Delegate Reed. Good to see you. We have 1851 Delegate Delaney, and was Ms. Walmart, was this one an identical?
Yes, sir. We already
dealt
reported
with it. Okay, very good. 1893. Have we done that one?
Already passed that.
Already done that one.
Bill will be 1901. Delegate Carr.
1901, Delegate Carr, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, House Bill 1901, it authorizes a online driver's manual course. It is a continuation of legislation which was introduced and passed unanimously in both chambers back in 2019. If a person fails the driver knowledge examination for a driver's license 3 times, they have to take a class before they can take the test again. The class must be an approved course in a physical classroom or online. No test is taken at the end of the course. Currently, any driver training school authorized to offer the course online must be a computer-based driver education provider. HB 1901 expands the availability of the online Virginia Driver's Manual course by deleting the requirement that the online course be offered only by a computer-based driver education provider. The bill permits all DMV-approved driver training schools to offer a DMV-approved online driver's manual course. Over a period of 3 years, the DMV says 39,000 people fail the DMV driving examination test 3 times and must therefore take a driver training course. A readily available online course vastly improves their success rate and thus advances the purposes of helping individuals obtain their licenses and drive themselves to work. Additionally, the core reason for the online driver's manual course is about greater accessibility. Particularly with COVID-19 still in play, having an option that keeps folks at home is of even greater importance. I have an expert here to speak on behalf of the bill, Sarah Wilson of Drive to Work.
Okay, if we could hear from your witness.
Mr. Chairman, this is Sarah Wilson. I'm here on behalf of Drive to Work, and we really appreciate Delegate Carr's carrying this bill. We strongly support it. It helps, we assist low-income and previously incarcerated people restore their driving privileges so they can get to work and keep a job. And this will allow our clients much needed access, online access, when they need the course in a timely fashion. So we're very excited about this change and hope that you will support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions from the committee on for the patron and her witness? Okay. Well, is there anyone else online for in favor or opposed?
At this time, there are no hands raised to speak.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to report. Could you open the rolls, please? Record your votes.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Ayes 14, no 0. Thank you, Delegate Carr. And I believe you have another?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, House Bill 1903 is enabling legislation only, with no mandate and no fiscal impact. The bill was a supported element of last year's Transportation Safety Omnibus Bill put forward by Delegate Jones and Senator Lucas. The bill allows localities to reduce the speed limit to less than 25 miles per hour, but not less than 50 miles per hour within a business or residential district. Recent studies, including the Governor's Highway Safety Administration, show that speeding-related fatalities are increasing across the country. The DMV Traffic Records Electronic Data System data shows speeding-related fatalities are up 25% across the Commonwealth over the past 3 years. In 2019, pedestrian fatalities hit an all-time high in Virginia. 126 pedestrians lost their lives to crashes with cars in 2019 and 123 in 2020. Some of these fatalities have sadly occurred in my own district in the south side of the city of Richmond. I would hope it would be the will of the committee to pass the bill. I would also like to say that this bill is supported by the City of Alexander, sports backers, 4 chapters of Families for Safe Streets, including those in Richmond, Arlington, Alexander, Fairfax, also supported by the Virginia Municipal League and Virginia Association of Counties. and I believe there are some witnesses here in support of the bill.
All right. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the bill?
Brantley Tyndall, please go ahead.
I'm Brantley Tyndall, and I'm wearing a different hat from earlier. I'm the Director of Outreach for Sports Backers, and we're a bike and pedestrian safety organization and support the bill for its life-saving potential related to impacts with people walking and biking.
Thank you. Anyone else in favor?
Ron Jordan, please go ahead.
Ron.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, thank you for letting me in. I'm speaking on behalf of the city of Richmond. As Delegate Carr indicated, all the bill does is allows the local governments the option of lowering the speed limit from 25 miles an hour in business and residential zones to 15. There's another section of the code that sets it at 25 miles an hour, and this is needed to give that option to go lower. There are neighborhoods where a lower speed limit is justified by architecture and a number of other and physical barriers and everything else, and we appreciate this flexibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ron. And do we have anyone else?
Jeremy Bennett.
Mr. Bennett.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Jeremy Bennett, representing the Virginia Association of Counties. For the reasons articulated, we do support the bill. It is enabling legislation that would empower local governments to respond to the needs of their constituents and provide, hopefully, reduced traffic incidents and pedestrian fatalities within them. For those reasons, we support the bill, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else in support?
Sarah Wilson.
Ms. Wilson?
I have nothing to add to this bill. Thank you. I was for the prior bill.
Okay. You still hanging on. Okay. Anyone else in favor?
At this time, there are no other hands raised.
Anyone in opposition?
We have one hand that just raised, Wyatt Gordon. Please unmute and go ahead whenever you're ready. Wyatt Gordon, please unmute and go ahead.
Hey, here to speak on behalf of Virginia Conservation Network. We are in full support of this bill. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Anyone else who needs to speak on the bill?
At this time, there are no other hands raised.
Oh, okay. I do want to do one shout out to Ron Jordan. He was my old boss, and when I was at the Department of Juvenile Justice in the Gilmore administration, can't tell you how much I learned from that man. So, Ron, it's good to see you. At any rate, that is the bill. Do we have any questions for either the patron or any of the witnesses?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to report. If you open the roll.
Ayes 9, noes 5.
Ayes 9, noes 5. The bill reports. 3. Next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Thank you, Delegate Carr. We appreciate it. Next, we have, I believe, Delegate Bell, House Bill 1961. Delegate Bell.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, thank you. This is a modest bill. Under current law, there are rules for when someone can get an ID card, and this is not the driver's license, but it's the DMV ID card, which many of you know can include information about special needs. And the current law limits it to certain ages and doesn't apply for the guardian once the person is over the age of 18. Now, per DMV, they often find a way to get this done, but if you call them, you will get all sorts of answers. And so that's what this bill would do, would make it clear that a parent can get it for anyone who's under 18, and then over 18, the guardian can get it for his or her principal. And DMV, my understanding is supportive. I don't want to, it wasn't their bill, but they like the idea. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Delegate Bell. Any questions for Delegate Bell from the committee? Is there anyone here to speak in favor of Delegate Bell's bill?
At this moment, there are no hands raised.
How about any in opposition?
There are also no hands raised to speak.
I'm sorry?
No hands raised to speak.
Thank you so much. Any further comment or questions from the committee?
Move to report.
We have a motion to report in a second. Would you open the rolls? Record your votes. Ayes 14, no 0. Delegate Bell, thank you for the bill.
Thank you.
Delegate Poindexter, are you out there on 2024?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, can you hear me okay?
We can. How you doing, Delegate Poindexter?
A little rainy out here on Smith Mountain Lake.
Is Senator Stanley, is that legal to report in from Smith Mountain Lake?
It is for the House.
It is for the House. Okay, very good. All right, Senator Poindexter, tell us about House Bill 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm presenting to you House Bill 2024 as amended in the House. I have no further amendments. A little background first. Patrick County, very rural county out Southwest Virginia. Some of you travel at the Blue Ridge Parkway. You go through Mabry's Mill, and Patrick exists from there down to North Carolina. And then basically the economy is tourism related, a very poor county. But down in one of those lush valleys, we had 2 covered bridges. And through the years, we've had tremendous numbers of festivals and economic development activities, a lot of music events with the traveling music shows, festivals, wedding. And one of the bridges was the Bob White Bridge. One of the 2 was washed out in 2015. So there's a lot of the community want to build a replica to continue their activities and even grow the tourism and the revenue that comes through there from not just Virginia and Carolina, but all around the United States. So what we ran into, the citizens are raising money, but we found out that to build a bridge on VDOT right away, we have to use the modern bridge standards, approaches, steel, girders, weight load, and so forth. And that's not the intent. So the purpose of this bill is to allow VDOT to review the construction plans in accordance with the national standards for pedestrian and covered bridges. And that's the bill there. We got slowed down with the COVID, but when we found out about the regulations, that's why I'm here with the bill today, Mr. Chairman.
And I assume that by qualifying under federal standards, this would be a bridge that would be safe for vehicles up to a certain weight?
No vehicle traffic.
Mr. Chairman, I have VDOT here with me, but I believe Ms. Maxwell's in the office. But the intent is for a pedestrian covered bridge type structure that would say cover a horse-drawn wagon, but non-vehicular.
Non-vehicular. I'm sorry.
Vehicular.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Favola.
question maybe for the patron or for staff. Is there any money in our tourism account, or is there the expectation that the county would pay for this, because it's clearly a tourism attraction, and as you just said, Delegate Poindexter, it would just be for pedestrian traffic. So I'm trying to figure out where this would fit in the state's transportation plan, if it fits at all.
Mr. Chairman?
Delegate Poindexter.
I couldn't quite clearly hear the question, but I believe it was about how the bridge would be funded. The concept here is the citizens in the community would raise money. They have raised considerable already. The local government, through its tourism or through local government funds, could contribute if they chose, but right now it's a citizen effort. We're not talking about a big bridge here. We're talking about a 40-foot wooden bridge with 12x12s to hold it up and sitting it on existing pilings and wooden sides and wooden roof on it. Rule River, 20 feet deep, 20 feet wide, 2 feet deep. So we're not talking about vehicular traffic.
Okay. And this is being written to federal standards?
There's a
constructed to federal standards?
Yes, according to
Mr. Chairman, back here.
Yes, Senator Obenchain.
Yeah, and to Senator Favola's question, I'm just now looking at the fiscal impact statement, and it indicates that at least the understanding was that VDOT is limited. I mean, their role would be limited to ensuring that the bridge is stable and that it doesn't have hazards as it's constructed, but that as I read it, the delegate's explanation is consistent that local resources are going to be used for all other expenses.
And I would assume, Senator Obenchain, that the VDOT is just absorbing the costs of doing the a little bit of work needs to be done on this. Is there anyone, any other questions of Delegate Poindexter before we go to the virtual room?
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Favola.
if there's a representative from VDOT on the Zoom call, I'd like to know if they have a position on the bill.
Okay, Ms. Maxwell, are you there to comment on behalf of VDOT on this?
Mr. Chair, this is Joanne Maxwell with VDOT. I have difficulty hearing Senator Favola's question, but bottom line, I think what you have heard is absolutely accurate. VDOT's role in this would be simply to review the plans for the bridge and ensure that the plans are consistent with certain standards and nothing more. And clearly staff, we can absorb any type of effort or costs associated with that review, which we think would be minimal with current staff and resources.
Okay, thank you. Anyone in the virtual chat room in support?
At this time, there are no hands raised to speak.
And or in opposition?
No hands raised.
Okay, very good.
Chairman.
If there are no other questions, the bill.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to belabor the point, but having had the pleasure and honor of representing alongside the Delegate Poindexter, Patrick County, this is a very important, not only just for tourism, but also to boost psychologically where we are. When that bridge fell due to flooding, it was a huge hit to Patrick County, and so we have even covered bridge festivals, and people get married there, and so it's a real part of Patrick County's history that needs to be reconstructed so that we can preserve not just the memory of the bridge itself, but also in the future of what that bridge stands for and what it stands for to Patrick County. So, Mr. Chairman, I understand Senator Favola's concern and all this, but this is really when we talk about micro-local issues, it's about as good as it gets. So, and I appreciate that. So, we'd love to have her down in Patrick County when that bridge is reopened due to her efforts in voting, hopefully green for this. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I move to report this bill.
Second.
A motion and a bid to and a second to report the bill. Just one quick question, Delegate Poindexter, are they constructing this so that it might be a little bit further out of harm's way in terms of being damaged by flooding?
Well, it'll be at least as high, and it lasted 100 years in the past, so we might tighten down a little tighter.
Yeah, we seem to get 100-year floods about every 15 minutes these days, but if y'all are good with it, I think we have a motion and a second. Could you open the rolls and record your votes?
Ayes 14, no zero.
Ayes 14, no zero. The bill reports. Thank you, Delegate Poindexter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
All right. Chairman McQuinn of House Transportation, are you there?
Yes, I am here, sir. How are you this afternoon?
Good to hear your voice. 2069 you have for us today, huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. May I speak to the bill,
proceed.
sir?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, this bill, House Bill 2069, is actually the result of a study group in 2019 involving members of the Virginia Department of Veteran Services, the Board of Veteran Services, and the Joint Leadership Council of Veteran Service Organization. And the legislation proposes to amend the Code of Virginia to establish a system for determining the cost of special license plates for recipients of a military decoration based on the order of their ranking of that particular military decoration. And so it is also in line with the Federal Department of Defense or other relevant agency. So it authorizes DMV to issue a plate with V for Valor on the appropriate plates. It also provides that special license plates for recipients of a military decoration are exempt from the prepaid application requirement and may be issued to unremarried surviving spouses of eligible recipients. And the bill also lists all medals falling within the 10 medals for each service in order of their precedent that are not already in the code. And finally, it changes the fee for existing special license plate for medal recipients from a one-time $10 fee to an annual fee of $10 after the effective date of the bill. So I hope it will be the pleasure of the committee to pass House Bill 2069. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Before we go on to questions and what have you, could we have Commissioner Holcomb comment on the bill, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Rick Holcomb, DMV Commissioner, and the chair, the House Chair, did a great job on this bill. Some will remember, and I'm not sure if Senator Cosgrove is in the room, but he raised some questions about a particular military metal bill and what benefits they were getting. And what this bill does, it sets forth consistency according to federal guidelines of order of precedent for these metal bills, and would just commend the bill to the committee for their consideration.
Okay, thank you so much. Any questions of the patron or the commissioner? Commissioner Holcomb, I believe this had some costs that that DMV would have to absorb.
No, sir. If it is, it's minimum. It's minimum cost. It's just programming costs. There's no financial impact that we filed. And Mr. Chairman, I do also note that our Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Secretary Hopkins, is on the line as well to speak to the bill.
All right. Let's go ahead and do that. Secretary Hopkins.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you, Commissioner Holcomb, and I want to thank the delegate for putting this bill forward. As she and the commissioner indicated, it also provides an exemption for those members of the service who've earned the highest valor awards, while also increasing the number of awards that the commissioner and his team can issue license plates for. So to the commissioner's point, any financial impact is de minimis, if at all, because of the increased number of license plates being offered. But it sends a strong message from Virginia to those who've earned those highest valor awards that they'd be exempt from that one-time fee. And on behalf of the administration, would ask that the committee respectfully pass the bill.
Okay, thank you so much. Any questions of the patron and the commissioner and Secretary Hopkins before we get out to the public on this? No questions. Is there anyone in the queue to speak in favor of the bill?
At this time, there are no hands raised.
And for those in opposition as well?
There are also no hands raised to speak against.
Okay. Any further questions? Delegate Cosgrove. I mean, Senator Cosgrove. I'm sorry.
Well, it used to be. Anyway.
Yeah, no, we were together. Yeah.
I respectfully ask that we report this bill.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to report. Open the rolls. Please record your votes.
Ayes 14, no zero.
All right, Madam Chair, your bill reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Certainly appreciate you and the committee. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You take care.
All right, have a good evening.
Mm-hmm. Next, we have HB 2070, Delegate Converse Fowler. Are you there?
Mr. Chair, we already
took care of that one? Okay, very good. Is Delegate Miaris there for HB 2146?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and Delegate Miaris, I do have an amendment to your bill after you explain it, and but let's go ahead and explain your bill, and then I'll introduce my amendment.
Okay. Yeah, HB 2146 simply authorize that when vehicles are stopped or parked in an Department of Transportation right away adjacent to a highway, that they are allowed to do so in a case of emergency, which includes an accidental breakdown, mechanical breakdown, and clarifies that the term emergency also includes retrieving a companion animal. As a self-professed dog lover and adopted 2 different dogs from the SPCA, I think this would enable those to be able to stop and retrieve their companion animals quickly in those areas next to the highway. We've all seen, at least I have seen, those moments where somebody's trying to get a dog off the highway, and it can create a lot of stressful moments. So, Mr. Chair, so that's what HB 2146 does. Happy to answer any questions from the committee.
Thank you. I do have an amendment. I'm passing it out right now, and is it, Ms. Wallmeyer? Is it on the system?
Yes, sir. I just hit send to the system, so it should be there momentarily.
Okay, and I was wondering if you could report it verbally so that Delegate Miaris could.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Amendment would, on line 19 of the engrossed bill, after the word highway, insert comma, but shall not include releasing or retrieving any dog in furtherance of hunting deer.
Thank you, Delegate Miaris. The idea here is, I think, in the original bill, it kind of sanctifies or codifies the ability of people to use the public roads for retrieving or letting animals loose. There's a practice going on throughout the Commonwealth where trucks pull up in front of someone's property. The dogs have nowhere to go but to that property. It's a violation of property rights. And I wanted to bring this bill, this amendment, for you to comment on, and certainly for the committee to take under consideration, because this has become a problem throughout the state. And what the net effect here would be is that you would have to release your dogs on private property where you have authority to do so, and to retrieve them from there. And that is the amendment. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond to it, and if you could do so, and then we'll take committee questions.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would point out that, first of all, the bill as engrossed, this issue did come up some in the House. The bill as engrossed says that nothing in this subsection construes or supersede the provisions of 18.2-132.1, which deals with the releasing of hunting dogs on another individual's private property. That's actually already in the code. There's already explicit language. I talked at length with Legislative Services. 18.2-286 already has a prohibition on discharge or shooting or doing any type of a firearm from a roadway. Essentially, it's considered, from talking to Legislative Services, it's considered an anti-hunting bill from the side of the road, so to speak. So there's already that prohibition that you can't park on the side of the road and simply try to hunt. That's both in 18.2-286. This bill, as engrossed, already has this prohibition on that it is to be explicit, doesn't supersede 18.2-132.1. And I would probably say as well that a companion animal is a companion animal. I don't know if you have a dog that's a companion animal, also doubles as some type of hunting companion dog as well. That somehow, just because that animal doubles as a hunting animal, suddenly that's bad. If I'm trying to simply retrieve an animal to make sure it doesn't get struck by another vehicle or rescue it, so I think there's already prohibitions in the code that A, stop hunting from the side of the road. That's already in the code. B, this bill, as engrossed from the House and was amended on the House floor, is explicit, doesn't supersede a separate section of the code about not releasing dogs onto private property with signs posted.
Yeah, Delegate Miaris, I'm not concerned so much about the hunting. I know that's covered here, but this is the constant and consistent and persistent letting loose of animals onto people's property. People show up with truckloads of dogs at the same time every Saturday, release the dogs onto the same property. They very often, the behavior of some of these individuals, and most, I think the majority of deerhound hunters are responsible, and they release their dogs from private property where they have authority to hunt. But these other folks are just consistently bringing their dogs onto other people's property and saying, hey, how do I control where a dog goes? So this is more about property rights than it is about hunting. I'm not concerned with. I think deerhound hunting is fine. I think that it's a good sport. People seem to enjoy it. The question is, how do you treat your neighbors? And by just pulling up anywhere and dropping your dogs off for them to go on somebody's property, I find objectionable. And so, is there anyone on the committee who has any questions of me on the amendment, or Delegate Miaris on the bill? And then I'll take a motion on the...
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the amendment. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We'll have a recorded vote. Ayes 8, no sentiment. The bill as amended is before us. Delegate Miyares, any other comments you want to make before we go to any witnesses you may have?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. At any rate, is there anyone in the virtual room to?
At this time, there are no hands raised to speak.
Okay.
Chair, move the report.
Second.
The motion is to report the bill as amended, and there's a second to record your votes.
Ayes 10, noes 5.
Ayes 10, noes 5. The bill reports. Thank you, Delegate Miyares.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I apologize. We skipped over Delegate Guzman. Delegate Guzman, are you here on 2138?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm here.
Okay, good deal. Thank you. Sorry for you were sort of at the bottom of the page there. I couldn't catch the number. So please go ahead and report your bill to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, it is presented to you House Bill 2138, a bill to allow non-drivers and children in the documented community to receive a state-issued photo ID. I first would like to thank, the support of the Senate on the bill that we passed last year that provided a driving privilege card for the undocumented immigrants. However, we left a community behind, which was those who do not operate a vehicle and children as well. And without this vital document, Mr. Chairman, they're unable to interact with society as we do every day. I believe that a photo ID will allow individuals to more actively participate in our communities and economy. A photo ID will allow someone to open a bank account, cash a check, rent an apartment, or purchase a vehicle. A photo ID is a ticket to access to schools as well. Many times as parents, where we have to pick up our children or drop them off late, we have to provide a government ID. And also when we go to the library, so we want to have access to recreational parks or pools. A photo ID will empower, including victims of domestic violence and sexual assault, to engage with law enforcement as well without fear. A photo ID is a sense of dignity and self-worth. This bill, has been drafted by the Department of Motor Vehicles. It's to mirror the legislation that we passed last year for privilege cards. So will be very similar. The differences are that this will cost $25 and it will have to be renewed every 4 years. And as we are the same requirements that we have last year. And Mr. Chairman, this will not be coming into effect until January 1st, 2022. So that will give an opportunity for the DMV to just get the system together, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Before we take questions, could we have comments from the Commissioner? Mr. Holcomb?
He's moving into the Zoom room right now.
Mr. Chairman, Rick Holcomb, DMV Commissioner. I apologize. I was just getting into the room. The patron has described the bill appropriately. It's a $25 fee for a 4-year credential. It sort of fills the hole that was not covered under the driver privilege card. So a driver privilege ID seems appropriate. We think we will probably issue about 15,000 of these, and certainly the $25 cost will of the fee of the credential will cover our costs. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions that any members of the committee may have.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Holcomb. Before we get into any other folks in the virtual room, any questions of the patron or Commissioner Holcomb? All right, anyone online to speak in favor of the bill?
Yes, Dana Chavez Calvi, please unmute and go ahead.
Yes,
welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, members of the committee. I'm Dana Chavez Calvi from the Legal Aid Justice Center. We are in support of HB 2138, as the DMV has thus far managed to implement the driver privilege cards. That process will continue to improve and we suspect become more efficient if bills like 2138 are passed. After all, it does include eligibility criteria already in place for the driver privilege cards, and we need to remember that many of our community members are not in the position yet to operate or own a vehicle, yet they do have obligations to meet. I myself come from an undocumented household. My mom would have benefited from an identification privilege card long ago. She'll be the first to admit driving is not her thing, but if right now retaking a test 4 to 5 times is what will get her somewhat of a valid identification in the state of Virginia, then she'll move forward with it, as will several families who I speak to on a daily basis. If we want this to save the DMV some time in testing and retesting individuals, and we want more active and independent members of our society, then we need 2138. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Is there anyone else?
Yeli Montano, please unmute and go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Yali Montano, and I'm with GASA. GASA and our 10,000 members strongly support the passage of this bill and would like to thank Delegate Guzman and all her hard work in bringing it forward. We align our comments with the speaker made before us, and I do believe the delegate summarized it really well. I do just want to share a testimony from one of our members. Daniela is a business owner and resident of Prince William County here in Virginia and has been living in the U.S. for quite some time. Unfortunately, around the holidays, Daniela had to go to the emergency room for the first time in her life. She was experiencing a lot of pain, and when she arrived at the ER, the hospital staff asked her for a valid form of identification. She attempted to show her high school ID, as that is all that she had on her at the time, but staff would not accept it. After digging through her wallet, she was able to find an old ID card that she had from back home. And after some time, staff took her back so she could receive care. Daniela would like you to know that the pain she was experiencing that night was so bad she could not stand up. And while she understood staff had to request an ID, it was a very difficult experience for her, and it made her feel very sad because she knows that for the simple fact of not having an ID, her care and relief was delayed. Daniela also shares that having a photo ID would allow her to overcome numerous roadblocks that she has faced that prevent her from moving forward with her plans for herself and her future. However, aside from all of these benefits, Daniela would like you to know that having an ID would give her a sense of dignity. It would make her feel like she is seen, like she is heard, and like she is like everyone else. At GASA, we strongly believe all members of our community should have an equal opportunity to accessing services and that we all deserve to feel security and worthy. We ask you to pass HB 2138. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Anyone else in the room?
There are no other hands raised at this time to speak.
Is anyone in opposition in the room?
Mr. Chair, a hand just raised up.
Mr. Chairman, move report. We have so, excuse me, Senator Spruill, we have someone online in opposition, perhaps?
Edgar Arianda Yanuk, please unmute and go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Hello?
Yes, we're here.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I have some problems. My name is Edgar Aranda Yanuk. I am the chair of the Virginia Coalition of Latin Organizations. Today, I respectfully also request to support HB 2138 for all the considerations that my colleagues have stated. And also, over the past days, we have been helping many people to obtain the driver privilege card. And we have seen how this is impacting their lives. So people are feeling that they feel welcome in Virginia the first time, and the same impact this legislation will have with people who cannot get a driver privilege card. So it's because we can also mention that this ID will help or improve the relationship between police and the community, because as already was mentioned, there are many people who are afraid of interacting with the police because they don't have an ID, a state ID, and they can use this ID also if they witness a crime or they are victims of crime. So this will help them a lot. And also for all the reasons that was stated, this will help them to, for instance, open an account, a bank account, and have these transactions will make easy impact also the economy of Virginia. So for that reasons, Mr. Chairman, I strong support Bacolao Virginia Coalition Latino Organization is also supporting very strong this.
Okay. Thank you very much. I was at the Department of Juvenile Justice when we started providing these kinds of ID cards to wards of the state who were held in our juvenile correctional facilities, and it made the biggest difference in both their attitude and they really felt, you know, that they had an ability to be somebody just because they had an ID card. It was very touching. Anything else? Any other questions? Needs to go to finance, so the motion would be to report and refer to finance.
Move to report and re-refer to finance. Second.
Okay, the motion is to first and seconded to report and refer to finance. Open the rolls. Record your votes.
Ayes 8, no 7.
Ayes 8, no 7. The bill reports. Next up, we have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Thank you all so much. Thank you, Delegate Guzman. Next, we have Delegate Hayes, HB 2216. Delegate Hayes, are you with us?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. See, you have before you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, House Bill 2216, which is a bill to rename the Virginia Missing Child with Autism Alert Program to the Missing Person with Autism Alert Program, and it expands the state code to apply to any missing person with autism, regardless of their age. The bill defines a missing person with autism as any person whose whereabouts are unknown, who has been diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder as defined by the Code of Virginia, and whose disappearance poses a credible threat to the safety and health of the individual. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I bring this legislation on behalf of a bright, fearless, loving, caring, persistent, mentoring constituent, the late Jamil Hill and her loving family she leaves behind. News reports indicate that officers found the body of Jamil Hill, age 29, after receiving a call asking them to respond on the scene at the 4500 block of Bainbridge Boulevard for a report of a body floating in the water alongside the road, according to the Virginian Pilot. You see, 3 days earlier, the family sought to have a missing person with autism alert activated through law enforcement. However, the state code did not allow it. It does allow, however, for such a partnership and alert to exist between agencies and the media if a child with autism is missing and is under the age of 17. And so we seek to amend the state code to have this arrangement and the alert program inclusive and responsive of any person on the autism spectrum. I hope it's the wishes of the committee to report the bill.
Thank you so much, Delegate Hayes. Any questions for the patron?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Spruill.
You're the best delegate in this world.
Well, I have the best senator in the world.
In this world. And Senator Spruill, he was my co-patron of the privacy bill in the House, and he's my favorite delegate too.
Mr. Chairman?
And if everybody closes their ears.
Is there anyone, any questions?
Just want to interrupt this love fest to note that it passed 99-0 in the House, and it's a great idea. Move to report.
Okay, we just have to
at this time, there are no hands raised to speak.
All right, we have nobody in the virtual room to have a motion.
Move report.
Have a motion, second report. Open the roll and record your votes.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill reports. Next.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Thank you, Delegate Hayes. Good
Thank
to see
you
you.
all. Thank you.
And next we have Delegate Wyatt. Delegate Wyatt, are you with us? On.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, committee members. House Bill 2261 is a specialty license plate that is currently in existence that is displayed by the brave men and women who actively serve in our Virginia National Guard. Currently, Each active Guards member is entitled to purchase at half price up to two sets of plates for two separate vehicles. This bill, if passed, will allow each active member to have the fee waived on only one set of license plate. This bill comes at the request of the members of the Joint Leadership Council of Veteran Service Organizations, of our 25 veteran organizations and over 250,000 members here in the Commonwealth. The current impact statement returned that no budget amendment was necessary. I will tell you there are currently 2,030 active sets of Virginia National Guards plates in existence. It was undetermined that if you go from two sets at half price for one person to one set at full price for just one person, it was undetermined what the impact would be. So it would be minimal. I'm sure they also shared that it would require some system programming changes as well. So the impact would be minimal and no budget amendment is needed.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Commissioner Holcomb, are you there? Could you provide comment, please?
Mr. Chairman, Rick Holcomb, DMV Commissioner, and the patron was correct. There are currently 2,030 of these plates. The current plate holders pay half registration for two plates. So they're getting two for the price of a one, so to speak. I will note the same thing I noted on the earlier retiree National Guard plate, and that is the only occasions that the General Assembly has approved no registration has been for the Medal of Honor, the Purple Heart, certain disabled veterans, and former POWs. The patron is also right, because again, currently the National Guard is limited to two sets of plates, which they can get at half price. This bill would say that the first plate is without cost and the second place is at full cost. So there's not going to be much of a net gain for anyone who has two plates. Certainly, if you only have one plate, you would benefit from it. But we have no official position on the bill, but just wanted to point out those numbers for you and would be pleased to answer any questions.
Commissioner Holcomb, I'd understood earlier in a conversation that there might be a $30,000 cost.
That's where we could see a $31,211 loss of revenue. But again, that would be folks who would have more than one, who would have the two sets of plates. And for someone who just has one plate, we're not sure how much of that cost would actually would be lost.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Holcomb. Any questions for the patron or for Commissioner Holcomb? Is there anyone in the virtual room to?
There are no hands raised at this time.
Either for or against?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Any comments or further questions?
Move to report and to finance.
Move to report and refer to finance.
No, I was going to make the same motion.
Make the same motion. So that'll be a second for Senator Cosgrove. If we could open the rolls.
Mr. Chair,
and
just
excuse me.
The motion, sorry. Briefly.
Senator McPike.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just expressed the same concerns as the last bill. This extends where we currently have very exclusive honorific determinations of Medal of Honor, POW, those who have truly sacrificed to our country. This extends it wide open and would encourage this policy-making committee to make policy and not pass the buck. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Question based on what Senator McPike just said. Commissioner Holcomb, does this widen the door or just change the fee structure?
Mr. Chairman, Rick Holcomb, DMV Commissioner. Senator McPike is correct. Right now, only the Medal of Honor, Purple Heart, certain disabled veterans, and POWs get a plate with no registration fee. And so this certainly would set a precedent for other groups to fall under that plate with no registration charge.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. We have a motion and a second on the bill. Could you open the rolls and record your votes?
Ayes 8, noes 4, 3 abstentions.
Ayes 8, nays 4, 3 abstention. The bill is reported and referred to Finance.
Thank
I
you,
think
Mr.
our
Chairman.
last bill is coming before us, and this Delegate Cole, 2294.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How are you?
Good to see you.
Likewise. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll try to make it very quick for you all. HB 2294, I'm carrying at the request of the Virginia DMV, and this bill would just basically bring us into federal regulation. To make a long story short, HB 2294 resolves an issue by incorporating the language of the new federal regulatory changes issued by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration in a final rule from 2019 into Section 46.2-629. And so this will just help the DMV do what they have to do as it relates to vehicle odometers. And I see Commissioner Holcomb is here. So if anyone has any questions, either him or I can help out.
Well, thank you, Delegate Cole. Commissioner Holcomb, could you comment?
Mr. Chairman, my only comment is that our patron has done a fabulous job. It's a federal mandate that puts us into compliance with the new NHTSA rules on odometer reporting, and so we would commend the bill to the committee for passage and thank the patron for a good job.
Okay, and that's the National Highway and Transportation Safety Administration, correct?
Yes,
NHTSA?
sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Senator Sproul.
That's correct, yes, sir.
You ready for a motion?
I am.
I move approval. Bishop did a good job.
All right, we have a motion to report. We have a second? Second. Let's open the rolls and record your votes.
We got it.
Oh, okay. We got it? Okay.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Ayes 15, no 0. The bill reports. Lisa, could you tell us how many bills we have for next? We got a big bulk out of the way. How many do we have left for next week?
Yes, sir. I believe we have 9 bills.
Okay, so next week we got a lot of this out of the way. Next week we will have 9 bills before us. So that works pretty well. Does anyone else have any business before the committee? All right, the committee will rise. Thank you.